صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قالت مولاتنا زينب عليها السلام ويلكم يا أهل الكوفة أتعلمون أي كبد لرسول الله نفرتم وأي كريمة له أبرزتم. صدقت مولاتنا زينب. My respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Indeed, the role of the female in Islam is one that supersedes the four walls of the house. And it is one that gives few limitations to the female in comparison to the limitations in which our cultures may think Islam places on the female, or in which media tends to project that Islam places on the female. That the female in Islam is seen as a flag bearer, is seen as an image, as a symbol, as an icon of the religion. If you and I were to walk in the streets of New Jersey, no one was to know we were Muslims unless if they come and speak to us. Yeah, if the female is walking with that hijab on her head that the poet comes and says, the flag of Abbas didn't fall, it's on the head of every female today, they know she's a Muslim without having to speak to her, because she carries the flag of Islam. And that's why you'll notice, before Karbala, there was a very prominent role to females within Islam. You look at somebody like, for example, Narjis, the mother of our 12th Imam. Narjis, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Narjis, who would go from Rome to Baghdad, imagine, so that she can give birth to the man who you and I call the Messiah. Narjis. You look at further beyond Narjis, somebody such as, for example, Shahrbanu, the mother of 4th Imam alayhi salam, played a prominent role within the religion. This is all what? Outside of Karbala. You then even come and look at, for example, ladies who would be in the midst of corruption yet would maintain their faith, such as Asya, the wife of Fir'aun. You could imagine how much they oppressed Asya. They say they would place big boulders of rock on her blessed ribs, yet she would continue to say, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. In other words, there are females who played prominent roles in Islam beyond Karbala. Yet then you come to Karbala, and there were many females who played unbelievably pivotal roles, and roles which transcended the pages of history and are still mentioned until today. Somebody like who? Like Daylam, the wife of Zuhair ibn al-Qayn. Zuhair, you know, was approached by Imam, and he was asked, "Oh Zuhair, come and join us." He said, "I don't want to join until who? Daylam would come to Zuhair." She would tell him, "Oh Zuhair, the grandson of Rasulullah is going to come and ask you, come and fight, and you're not going to go and fight with him." Yes. Daylam, who would keep her husband on the true path. Yes, there are some wives who they keep their husbands on the true path. Somebody like Wahab, what a phenomenal story, I tell you. Wahab, who would see her son saying, I'm going to fight. No, don't go. I'm going. No, don't go. I'm going. Go. Why go? You just told me don't go. Until she would reply, yes, but when I heard Hussein say, Ala hal min Nasir, Ala hal min Mu'een, Ala hal min Dhabin yadhubbu an haramillah, it hurt me. Yes, it is said when they cut the head of Wahab, radiyallahu anhu, He died as a Christian, by the way. This is something that needs to be mentioned to our Christians. He died as a Christian. They would take the head of Wahab, they throw it back to his mother. He would tell her, you gave us your son, take his head. She would throw it back. She would say two reasons. Number one, this was given sadaqah. One sadaqah is given, I don't take it back. Yes, that's the first thing. And the second reason is because if I had not one son, but 10 sons, I would give them all for Zahra. Yes. This was a lady who showed the potential of a real Muslim female. See, there are Muslim females which Fox News and CNN project, and there are real females that Islam comes in. Speaks about, you even look at who? You look at the wife of the killer of Burayr. Burayr, famous companion of Abu Abdullah, when his killer killed him, his wife would come to him. She would tell him, you killed the grandson or a companion of the grandson of Rasulullah. I never want my head to be in the same roof as you, and I never want my head to be in the same mattress as you. In other words, she made it very clear that she disagreed with what Wahab, or indeed what the killers of Burayr did to him. And then you come to, yes, Farwa, Layla, Rabab, Kulthum, who spoke in Kufa, Fatima bint al-Hussein spoke in Kufa. Yes, all females who made their presence known, until you come to who? To the heroine of Karbala, Zainab, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayha. Zainab alayha salam gave two famous sermons. And give me your attention on these vital points before we today look at the sermon of Zainab alayha salam. Zainab salamullahi alayha gave two sermons in her life which were famous. The first was in Kufa and the second was in Sham. Tomorrow we look at Sham's sermon. Today we look at Kufa's sermon. The sermon of Zainab alayha salam in Kufa was initiated upon, indeed, her entrance to Kufa. The caravan arrives to Kufa in a state where the people of Kufa were dancing in celebration, who were shouting, thousands of police, making sure that nobody uprises against the authority. The noises of the bells on the necks of the bird. They would place bells on the necks of the bird as forms of celebration, and you can imagine how much noise that could make. People screaming, children running. Zainab alayha salam enters Kufa. You can imagine the situation, the noise, like a carnival, like a festival with thousands of people. Zainab walks in. She turns to them. She tells them, uskutu. She tells them, be quiet. The reporter, the media reporter, who was there to record the instance, he says that the breaths got stuck in their chest and the noises of the bells went silent. By what? By Zainab saying, be quiet. Yes. She was wearing her abat. She takes out her hand from her abat, her clothed hand, salamullahi alayha, and she looks to the people and she begins. She says, Ya Ahl al-Kufa, Ya Ahl al-Khatli wal-Ghadr. She says, O people of Kufa, O people of deception, and O people who indeed have no loyalty. Now, this was the first methodology of Zainab alayha salam to get to the hearts and the souls of the people. Why? Because you know the history of Kufa was a black history. The pages of the history of Kufans, namely towards Abu Abdullah, was a black history. Zainab wanted to wake them up from the first thing that she said by reminding them of their black history. She tells them, O people of Kufa, O people of deception, O people who have no loyalty. Why they have no loyalty? People of Kufa were who? People of Kufa, number one, before Karbala, were the ones who sided with Musa al-Ash'ari and not Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Battle of Siffin. Yes. He would tell them, continue to fight. When they had to resort to the engagement, or indeed they saw there's no solution, the only solution is to discuss. They brought Abu Musa al-Ash'ari from that side and they said Ali ibn Abi Talib would represent us. Imam says continue to fight. They said, Imam, what do you mean continue to fight? We see Qur'ans on the spears. Look at the lines. He says, I'm speakable Qur'an, that's silent Qur'an. They said, no, we can't fight Qur'an from their Khawarij. Khawarij, where did they erupt from? Khawarij erupted from a disagreement towards Ali ibn Abi Talib and Saffin. That's the first black dot in the pages of the history of Kufans towards Abu Abdullah. What else? They sent 12,000 letters of invitation towards Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, telling him, we're ready to give our necks for you, O son of Fatima. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam goes to Kufa, or he goes to Karbala. He sends Muslim ibn Aqil. He gets the message telling him that Muslim has been killed, yes, and indeed Hani has been killed. They would, you know what they did to Muslim, and you know why it hurt Abu Abdullah? It is said that Muslim, not only would they kill him, they would put their sword in the teeth of Muslim and churn the sword. That his teeth, when he wanted to drink water, would fall into the blessed cup, yes. He would say, Subhanallah, Allah doesn't want me to drink, so I die like my cousin Abu Abdullah. That they deceived Imam, or indeed they turned away from their words. Thirdly, Imam was killed. The man sat on his chest because of what? Because of the lack of support of the people of Kufa. Zainab would begin from her first initiation was to humiliate them, was to remove any traces of arrogance in their hearts by telling them, don't forget, your history is a black one. Zainab alayhi salam then says the following lines. After she says, Ya Ahl al-Kufa, Ya Ahl al-Khatli wal-Ghadr, atabkun. Do you cry? Why did Zainab say that? Do you cry? Because Zainab alayhi salam is looking at tears which are falling from the eyes which looked at shimr sit on the chest of Abu Abdullah. She says, now you cry? These hypocritical tears, these superficial tears, don't mean anything to me. You're not fooling anyone with these crocodile, with these foolish, with these superficial, with these what? With these rootless tears. Give me your attention. You see, brothers and sisters, there are tears which have roots. You mean what? What do you mean they have roots? When somebody cries, that tear is supposed to change him. Yes. That tear that falls about Abdullah al-Hussein, that tear which falls upon Zainab, that tear which falls upon Sukaina, that tear is supposed to change you. When it falls down, it's not only supposed to simply wipe your cheek, it's supposed to wipe away your arrogance. It's supposed to wipe away your jealousy. It's supposed to wipe away your greed. It's supposed to wipe away your hypocrisy. Zainab alayhi salam is telling them, Atabkun? Do you cry? Why you cry now? But you what? You killed Imam al-Hussein then. Meaning these tears have what? These tears have no value. That's why she would continue to the next line, Salamullahi alayha, where she would say, فَلَا indeed فَلَا رَقَأَتِ الْدَمْعَ وَلَا هَدَأَتِ الرَّنَّ. She said, may your tears not stop falling down and may your moans never settle. She said, if now you cry, may Allah give you more problems. May Allah give you more difficulties, that you never stop crying and you never stop moaning, because your tears are fake. And if it takes tears to change you, then Allah give them more problems, which will cause more tears to fall down from their eyes. You may say, how did Zainab alayhi salam know that these tears were indeed fake? And this is a vital point. Zainab knew their tears were fake because, and indeed, we should always ask ourselves, are our tears like the tears of the people of Kufa? Yes. Insan should always be asking himself, are my tears like the tears of the people of Kufa? A tear which meant very little, or in other words, meant nothing. A tear which falls is meant to change me, is meant to what? Not only be an emotional tear, it's supposed to be what? A existential tear. You know what the existential tear is? You have the emotional tear. And then you have the existential tear, the tear that is correlated with your existence. You see, within the Holy Quran, when the revelation would come down, Quran comes and says, إِذَا سَمِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ, when the Christians hear what comes down to Rasulullah, out of realization of the truth, تَرَى أَعْيُنَهُمْ تَفِيضُ مِنَ الدَّمْعِ. Are you with me? Non-Muslims, the Quran comes and says, when they hear revelation, Ya Rasulullah, they begin to cry. Why? مِمَّا عَرِفُوا مِنَ الْحَقِّ, because of the truth that they've realized. Islam has made it clear that the purpose of the tear is that you realize the truth. That when I see Abu Fadl's hand fall off, I say, he gave his hands. What have I given for the religion? Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam gave his neck. What have I done for the religion? That what you say, just as Abu Fadl held the flag of La ilaha illallah, I'll hold it in my society, I'll hold it in my schools, I'll hold it in a world which is contrary to La ilaha illallah. I don't care, I'll keep on holding it until my arms are chopped off, just like the son of al-Banin, the Moon of Bani Hashim. That, how did Zainab know the tears were fake? It's a vital point. She continues and she makes it clear why she knew that. She says, indeed, you, O people of the Kufa, are like the one, is like the lady who tirelessly ties the rope, and with all effort and with all energy, she ties the rope onto, in other words, part of the efforts and the tire and the work that she's doing. She ties the rope, she gives the example, and then she goes and she unties it. Zainab alayhi salam is making a phenomenal line. She says, you are like the ones who tie the rope and you work hard and then you untie it. Why? The people of Kufa gave invitations, they gave loyalty, they showed to Abu Abdullah that they're ready to give their life for him, and then what happens? And then they churn it back. The next moment, the one moment they're 12,000 ready to give their lives, another moment they're in their houses chilling and relaxing. Zainab told them, you're like the one who ties. In other words, what's the point? They had no firmness. Firmness, brothers and sisters, is a vital discussion in Islam. Firmness, thabat. Allahumma thabbit qalbi ala dinik ma ahyaytani. Dua comes and says, oh Allah, make firm my heart. A heart which I want to be firm in a world which is very slippery. Yes. Firmness. That's why Zainab alayhi salam, she doesn't stop there. She comes and she tells you why they have no firmness. And this is something we ask ourselves. Zainab said they have no firmness, and then she goes and she gives the ingredients to having no firmness. What are they? She says, you, O people of Kufa, Ahlal Shanaf. Ahlal, in other words, Ahlal Milq al-Mila. She says for example, what they call the Mar'a. You are the Adanul Mar'a. Let me explain what these mean. First she tells them, you people are ones who have Shalaf. Shalaf means what? Shalaf is a quality where you say something but you do something else. Yes. يقولون بألسنتهم ما ليس في قلوبهم. And then you are أهل ملق الملاء. ملق الملاء is what you have no purity in your heart. You have hate. Your heart is filled with hate. Until she comes, she says, you people are of khazm. Khazm means what? You have no honor. Yes. You have no dignity. Whatever the leader comes and tells you to do, you follow it. Meaning your tears are ones that fall. Yet, you'll notice that the minute the leader comes and tells you to do this, that, and the other, you submit to him. Yet Zainab alayhi salam uses a very nice analogy here. To which she says, milq al-mila. The first word she uses means what? You know the land in which the horses walk on, the land in which the cattle tend to walk on, grass and flour and whatever it is, the land. That's the first word she describes. The second word is what? The second word is the remains from the horse. Yes. the urine and the stool and so on and so forth, that comes out from the animals, it tends to fall on the ground. When it falls on the ground, it mixes with dirt, and it mixes with the humidity of the environment, so plants begin to grow from it that look beautiful. Zainab alayha salam, she's telling them, you are like that plant that comes from that material. You look beautiful on the outside, yet your foundation is filthy. People of Kufa have a rich history. She tells them, on the outside you looked great, yet on the inside you lacked loyalty. You didn't put your religion above everything. On the outside, you look fantastic. Yet go and look at your foundations. Go and look at your roots. There's no root. There was, what to these people? There was no firmness. Firmness, which Imam Al-Kadhim alayhi salam, they would send the dancer to him. They send the dancer to 7th Imam. Imam alayhi salam, they say, for sure we've seduced Imam Al-Kadhim. They come into the prison cell. They see Imam Al-Kadhim alayhi salam in sajda, with the lady also wearing a hijab in sajda. The dancer which was sent to seduce 7th Imam is in sajda, speaking to Allah, saying, Subbuhun Quddus Rabbal Malaikati wa Ruh. Firmness. Firmness that you can throw him in the worst of areas. It doesn't matter. He never adapts to the environment. A Muslim doesn't adapt to the environment. What happens? The environment adapts to him. Yes? Michael H. Hart, when he wrote the 100 most influential, he put Rasulullah on top of the list 2 times consecutively. They told him, why? Look at the explanation. He says Jesus had support, Moses had support, Muhammad was a moon in the midst of darkness. He entered a society which would bury their daughter alive, and he would stand up when his daughter would walk into the house. They tell him, Ya Rasulullah, she's a female. He says, yes, of course she's a female. That's why I stand up for her. Firmness, where they would come to Rasulullah. Abu Talib would be sent to him, telling him, Ya Rasulullah, Quraysh has told me they'll give you the women, they'll give you the wealth, they'll give you the palaces, they'll give you the possession, whatever you want, Ya Rasulullah, please stop saying La ilaha illallah. You've killed us. You've ruined our business. He would say, is that right? He would say, yes. He told him, oh Abu Talib, go and tell them the following. What is it, Ya Rasulullah? You're going to stop? Please, they're killing me. He tells him, Wallahi ya Am, if they put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, so I can stop saying La ilaha illallah, never will I say it. Oh Abu Talib. This is firmness. رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِيهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْعٌ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَإِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ. Yes. وَإِيتَاءِ الزَّكَاةِ يَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا تَتَقَلَّبُ فِيهِ الْقُلُوبُ وَالْأَبْصَارُ. Men who aren't distracted by transactions, by business. No. They might do it, but they might live in a business, but the business never lives in them. Yes? You with me? Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, live in this world like a boat on water. Never let the water go into you. Yet the minute the water goes into the boat, it drowns. Yes. Jesus used to say, be in this world, but not of this world. There are people who are in this world, which is fantastic, which inshallah is us. There are people who are of this world. He gets a Mercedes, he sleeps in it the first 2 days. I know one brother, he got his Mercedes, he slept in the Mercedes the first 2 days. You tell him, what is it? You're in Karbala, you're in Najjar. No, brother, it's my Mercedes al-Muqaddasa. Yes? So, Zainab alayha salam, she would say, what? She would say, your tears are tears which have no, indeed, firmness. She then comes to speak about what? And it's a vital line. She says, قَدْ ضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الذِّلَّ وَالْمَسْكَنَةِ. Let me tell you what that means before your loud salawat upon Muhammad. She tells him, you O people, a humiliation has been written upon you. This is vital line because Zainab is quoting a verse from Quran here. Zainab is quoting a verse from Quran here, and this shows to us the relationship that Zainab alayha salam had with Quran. You see, brothers and sisters, Zainab alayhi salam was known as what? She was known as Zainab. Zainab means what? Zainul Ab. She was the ornament of her father. Any detail that was wonderful within Ali ibn Abi Talib, and which one wasn't, was manifested within Zainab alayhi salam. She was the cream of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Zainul Ab. One of the qualities which she inherited from Amir al-Mu'mineen was indeed knowledge. Zainab is known as Al-Alima Al-Ghair Mu'allama. She is the one who knows without ever to have been taught. And you might think, where did this come from? Of course from Allah. Imam Sajjad says in Karbala, Zainab would pray but she would be sitting. Meaning even if I'm in pain, even if I'm hungry, even if I'm thirsty, I'm going to continue my salah sitting. Yes. She had that wonderful connection with Allah Azza wa Jal, to the extent that it is said that as a child, you might say this is only when she was older. No, even as a child, alayhi salam, as a child, one day she would be sitting next to Amir al-Mu'mineen, to which Imam alayhi salam would tell, she would come to the Imam 3 years old, she would tell him, "Oh Ali, father, do you love me?" He would say, "Of course I do. What kind of question is this?" Until she would respond, "Do you love Allah?" He said, "Of course I do. What do you mean, Zainab?" She smiles. He tells her, "Why do you smile?" She says, "How do you love me and Allah at the same time?" 3 years old. He tells her, "No, Zainab, I love you because Allah has told me to love you." And this is the vital point. The love that Rasulullah had for Ahlul Bayt wasn't only based on because this was his daughter, because this was his son, this was his grandson. No. It was based on a divine command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to love Ahlul Bayt. Rasulullah for 9 months, he would go next to the door of Fatima. He would knock on the door, he would say, "Assalamu alaikum, ya Ahl Bayt al-Nubuwah, وموضع الرسالة ومختلف الملائكة أتأذنون لمحمد للدخول." Oh household of prophethood, oh the origin of the message, oh the area of reception of the angels, do you allow Muhammad to enter your house? Fatima comes out, she tells him, "Father, are you serious? Al-Bayt baytuk wal-bint bintuk." The house is your house and the lady is your daughter. Why do you speak to me in such a way? He says, "Allah commanded me to speak to you in such a way. It's not my choice. Even if Allah didn't command me, I'll speak to you in such a way. But Allah commanded me to speak to you in such a way." Allahu Akbar. Divine. It was a divine command. That's why Shafi'i, he comes and he says, "Ya ala bayti Rasulillah hubbukumu fardun min Allah fi al-Quran annakumu." He says, "O people, O family of Rasulullah, your love is an obligation from Allah." He says, "He who doesn't pray upon you with a salawat has no religion." Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That's on that third level, the knowledge of Zainab. She was a manifestation of Quran, just like her father, Ali ibn Abi Talib. That's the third level. You then come to a line which begins to her. She begins to remind them of what they did to Aba Abdullah al-Husayn. She tells them, "You, O Kufa, how could you exonerate, how could you forget after you have killed the youth, the master of the youth of paradise? Wasn't he the one you would go to when you had problems and you would fight? Wasn't he the one you would go to solve your issues and your conflicts between one another?" Zainab, number one, is reminding them of what they did to Imam al-Hussein, lest they forget. Why? Because she's trying to tell them how big of a deal it was that they killed the Imam alayhi salam. If you don't know, let me remind you who you killed. You killed the one who was the master of the youth of paradise. Yes, until she would come to the following line, she would tell them, "Waylakum ya Ahl al-Kufa," what we began with. "Waylakum ya Ahl al-Kufa, أتعلمون أي كبد لرسول الله نثرتم وأي كريمة له أبرزتم." Do you know which child of Rasulullah you have killed? Do you know which daughter of Rasulullah you have made a prisoner of war? There's a vital line here, brothers and sisters. Zainab was very keen on mentioning Rasulullah. She is basically saying, when we want to speak to opposition, when we want to speak to those who disagree, we have to use Rasulullah. It's a vital line. When I speak to people of other sects, people of other beliefs, or keep it as sect, interfaith, If I don't use Rasulullah is that galvanizing factor which unites us. I may have disagreement upon who is the Khalifa after Rasulullah. I may have disagreement upon the status of Ahlul Bayt in Islam. Yet we both agree on the greatness of Rasulullah. Zainab alayha salam, what did she say? She said, وَيْلَكُمْ أَتَعْلَمُونَ أَيُّ كَبَدٍ لِرَسُولِ اللَّهِ نَفَرْتُمْ. Do you know which son of Rasulullah you have killed? Zainab didn't have to say that. Zainab could have said, do you know you killed Hussein? And that's it, wassalam. The son of Fatima. No. كَبَدٍ لِرَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Which son of Rasulullah you have killed? Why? Because she's saying Rasulullah is supposed to be that uniting element between us and Muslims. The world today has disagreement, and you may say we disagree with them on a number of things. I tell you, yes we do. I'll be the first one to tell you we disagree with them. Yet disagreement has nothing to do with unity for the sake of strengthening the Islam. I just ask one question. When Fox News sees a Sunni fight with a Shia, are they happy or sad? That's all I need to know. Fox News, when they see you fighting with your brother in Islam, does that make them happier? Wallah, Imam al-Khomeini rahmatullahi alayhi, he really hit it on the nail with his famous quote when he says, we're bickering over whether you should pray with your arms folded or unfolded, yes? While the enemy is planning how to chop them off. Imam makes a phenomenal line. Zainab alayhi salam used Rasulullah to unite with them, or none other. Indeed, she doesn't want to unite with the killers of the Imam, because you don't want to compromise your beliefs at the same time. Zainab alayhi salam was using one element which all understand. Meaning, if you don't know the status of Hussein, you know the status of Rasulullah. Therefore, I'll use it. Number 3, Zainab alayhi salam comes and mentions to them was still under the line of showing the oppression towards Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And brothers and sisters, we have to show the oppression of Imam to the world. You know why? Because the minute they know what Hussein went through to keep a principle alive, I promise you they'll never leave that principle alone. To see a man give 18 of his family members, and they know the value of Abu Abdullah. You may say, how? Winston Churchill. He has an unbelievable line coming from the mouth of the horse. You know what Winston says? Winston says there are 3 things Muslims have which we can never defeat them because of those 3. They told him, what is it? He said, as long as they have a Kaaba which they walk to, a Hussein which is remembered, and a Quran which is read, we can never defeat the Muslims. Look at the 3 prongs in their neck. The 3 arrows which bother them, the 3 arrows of Islam. The first one is what? The Kaaba. It unites us under La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. They also have a Hussein which is remembered. Why is Hussein so scary? You think about him. I don't have time. But there was a conference in Israel. They said there are 3 things that the Muslims have which scare us. That makes them so powerful. Number 1, they have Hussein, they have Marja'iyah, and they have Mahdi. It scares them. Why? Because Hussein showed to us that you can look in the barrel of the gun but still see paradise. You with me? It scares them. Until you kill him, you just send him to paradise. It's a scary thing. Therefore, she would continue, she would make the oppression clear by saying what? She would say, indeed, don't be surprised if the sky is ripped open, if the earth fractures, and indeed if the sky begins to rain blood. She says, don't be surprised. And this is a fantastic line which Zainab is making. Zainab is basically telling them, did you not know that Ahlul Bayt stability is what the stability of the world depends on? When Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam was killed, they would see that the world would begin to shake and tremble. Zainab alayhi salam says, what's going on? Zain al-Abidin would turn to her. He would tell her, the Hussein has been killed. لو خليت قلبت. We believe that the stability of the earth depends on the stability and on the presence of an Imam. He's the connection between dunya and akhirah. The minute the Imam is killed, the world loses its light. The world loses its source. And that's why when Allah comes and says, وَلِكُلِّ قَوْمٍ هَادٍ, to every nation, there is a guider. Why? Because it's the guider that connects the creation to the Creator. You know what Rasulullah says? He says, النُّجُومُ أَمَانٌ لِأَهْلِ السَّمَاءِ. He says, stars are a source of safety for the peoples of the sky. وَأَهْلُ بَيْتِي أَمَانٌ لِأَهْلِ الْأَرْضِ. He says, and my family are the sources of safety for the people of the earth. Yes. The stability of dunya depends on the existence of what? Of an Imam. Until Zainab alayhi salam, she would end by saying, فَلَا indeed, إن الله لا يخاف الثار إن ربك لفي المرصاد. She says, indeed your Lord is not afraid to perform a revolution, referring to 12th Imam alayhi salam. Zainab made it very clear that every analysis, every discussion of Islam has to end with what? With the mentioning of the 12th Imam. Today, if you go to many of the ziyaras, brothers and sisters, if you go to many of the ziyaras, you open them up, you go to the ending, it says, غائبكم باطنكم ظاهركم yes, شاهدكم. Why? It's always mentioning the ghaib. It's always mentioning the 12th one in occultation. Always mentioning the 12th Imam alayhi salam. Zainab likewise, she ends with Mahdi. Why with Mahdi? Because Mahdi is the continuation of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Yes. If you were to compare it, it would be like the following. Rasulullah had the protocol. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam built the foundation. Imam al-Mahdi would come and build the building. There were three interdependent factors that worked with one another. Hence you'll notice that when Imam al-Mahdi comes, he says, Ya li tharat al-Hussein. Oh, for that vengeance of Hussein. When Hussein was in Karbala, he would say, Ma in tabbana jubnun walakin manayana wa dawlatu akharina. He says it's not because of fear of death that we run to it, it's because of confidence. There's a 12th Imam coming tomorrow. This is what kept them going. Yes? You know when Imam Mahdi comes out? 10th of Muharram. Subhanallah. Imam al-Mahdi comes out on the 10th of Muharram. Why? He's making it clear that I will continue what Aba Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam began. Yes. I use the blood of Hussein as fuel to do what I do. Yes. There were interdependent relationships. And it's for that reason that Zainab alayhi salam would indeed end by saying what? By saying, indeed, إن الله لا يخاف الثار إن ربك لفي المرصاد. You people think you won now. Don't forget, the last smile is ours. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will indeed give the world to the oppressed in inheritance. ونريد أن نمن على الذين استضعفوا في الأرض ونجعلهم أئمة ونجعلهم الوارثين. Zainab finishes her sermon. People of Kufa are crying. People of Kufa are in tears. One old man would churn, he would say, You Ahl al-Bayt, there is no elderly like your elderly. There is no youth like your youth. There is no females like your females. A few words of Zainab alayhi salam. You know why? Because Zainab had the awe and the fearlessness of Fatima, and she had the eloquence of Ali ibn Abi Talib. When Zainab would speak, they would say, Is that Ali speaking? We thought Amir al-Mu'mineen died. She had the ability to change you simply with her words. And that's why she would end with the mentioning of the 12th Imam, to tell them the last smile is ours. And that's why when Imam Mahdi alayhi salam was once seen in the dream, one alim would tell him, Oh Imam, you mentioned لَأَنْدُبَنَّكَ صَبَاحًا وَمَسَاءً وَلَا أَبْكِيَنَّ عَلَيْكَ بَدَلَ الدُّمُوعِ دَمًا. Who are you referring to in the ziyarah, O 12th Imam? You'll cry tears of blood, not tears, normal tears, tears of blood. Who are you referring to, O 12th Imam? Who are you referring about Qasim? He says, no, if Qasim was here, he would cry as well. Or are you referring to Akbar? He says, no, if Akbar was here, he would cry as well. Or are you referring to Abbas? It must have been the moon of Bani Hashim. He said, no, neither was it Abbas. Who was it, O 12th Imam? He would say, أبكي على عمتي زينب. I cry upon my aunt Zainab. Imam al-Sajjad, for 40 years, he wouldn't be seen smiling, he would be crying, his food was mixed with his tears. Abu Hamza wanted to get to the bottom of it. He tells him, Oh Imam, you're used to death, your dignities in martyrdom, why do you cry so much? He would say, Oh Abu Hamza, may Allah reward you. Yet have you ever seen before Karbala our ladies running from room from tent to tent? We go to Zainab alayhi salam in these last moments. When Zainab would be passing by the very body of Aba Abdullah, she wants to come down from her horse to farewell the Imam. She hears a voice telling her, Amma Zainab, Amma Zainab, irhami ضعف بدني, Amma Zainab, irhami قلة حيلتي. My own Zainab, have mercy upon my weak body. On Zainab, have mercy on my sickness. says, who are you? He would say, I am Zayn al-Abidin. I can't handle seeing you crying upon the body of my father. What should I do, O Imam? He would tell her, وَدْعِ أَخَاكِ مِنْ عَلَى ظَهْرِ النَّاقَةِ. Farewell your father, your brother from upon the camel. Zainab goes back on the camel. She looks at Hussein saying, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. One alim says he read a narration in which he saw Rasulullah, in which he saw a man, in other words, upon the grave, upon the body of Imam al-Hussein, disheveled hair, no slippers on his feet. Zainab would tell him, oh man, please leave Hussein alone. He would say, I am Muhammad. I came to cry upon Aba Abdullah. I leave you with this last narration with Zainab alayha salam. Zainab alayhi salam leaves Karbala. She arrives to Sham. She turns to Kulthum. She tells her, oh Kulthum, do you know that lady up there on the throne? No, who is it? That's Hind. Hind used to serve Zainab in the house of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Muawiyah would take her and wed her to Yazid. She knows nothing about Karbala. He tells her, that's Hind. She says, that's Hind. She says, yes. They pass by Hind. Hind asks them, where did you come from? They say, we came from where? We came from Karbala. Yeah, we originally came from Medina. Hind comes down from the throne. Zainab asks her, oh Hind. Hind now knows, she knows her name. Oh Hind, why is it when you heard the name Medina, you came down from the throne? She says, because of the respect I have for the people of Medina. She says, and who do you know in Medina? She says, I know Hussein, I know Abbas, I know my master Zainab. Wallah, that last line hurts. You know why? She would say, I know my master Zainab. She would tell her, do you know anything about Hussein? She said, if you want Hussein, go and find his head in the castle of your husband Yazid. If you want Abbas, go and find the arms of Abbas next to the river in Karbala. She would tell me about my master Zainab. She said, I am Zainab. She would say, my master, what happened to you? My master, you look different. She would bash her head with a rock. She falls unconscious. She wakes up. She goes to Yazid. She tells him, how could you do this to Rasulullah's daughters? He would tell her, put your hijab back on. She would say, how can I put a hijab when Zainab has no hijab on her head? Brothers and sisters, Zainab had no hijab. Do you think about that or no? Until Zainab, when she would arrive to Medina, she arrives to the door of her brother Muhammad ibn Hanafiya. Look at this line and I leave you with this one. Muhammad ibn Hanafiya opens up the door, brother of Zainab. He tells her, how can I help you? Allahu Akbar. How can I assist you? She tells him, excuse me? He says, yes, is there anything I can do for you? She would tell him, what do you mean? I'm your sister Zainab. He would say, you are Zainab al-Hashimiyya? She says, I am Zainab al-Masbiyya. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma bi Fatima wa abiha وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمك يا الله. اللهم شافي كل مريض بحق مريض كربلاء زين العابدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين واخذل الكفر والمنافقين. اللهم عجل بوليك الفرج واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه. And to answer our du'as and to hasten the appearance of our Imam, we say Fatiha with a salawat.